Good news, everyone!
We're going to have 100 reward levels next expansion is the big fat headline on this. This was basically what happened was responding to a Reddit post that was titled, quote, "The post-level 50 experience is exactly what we were hoping the rewards track would feel like." Hearthstone game designer Ixar responded saying that, and this is a direct quote, "Our latest reward track for the next expansion has 100 levels, the same amount of required XP, and the same amount of total rewards. Sounds like we're on the same page." And then ended it with, I know. As we get closer to completion and the next expansion, we'll share more details.
I love that Garrett can like see me getting ready to like.
Part of it too is a guide for the audio listeners. I want them to know that you just cocked an eyebrow so hard, I think you removed some drywall from your ceiling.
Oh man. Okay, so this statement is just infuriating because
kicking off 2021. It turns out calendars are entirely arbitrary and nothing has changed, including in Hearthstone.
I honestly though, I feel like I'm gonna be a little bit feisty today. I'm gonna try not to be, but I feel like this Reddit post, the post 50 level experience, I think the reason why the original poster, or at least what I'm going to assume the original poster's feelings are why people like this, because I've seen this sentiment shared across many different players saying like, oh, hey, I got to the end of the pass and then now I'm in the post 50 grind. And this actually feels really good. Like I'm getting rewarded pretty often. It's consistent. And that's because post 50, the rewards are the same and the XP requirement is the same. And so you're getting rewarded at a consistent pace instead of things being front loaded, which is infuriatingly frustrating as a player. When you're just like, oh, hey, in week 1, I get a bajillion things, but then by week 10, I get 1 if I'm lucky. Like that feels really bad. So the post 50 leveling experience feels very good. And Ixar's response to this doesn't really give me any sort of, I guess, faith in the fact that he got that message. Like this says, oh yeah, we've got 100 levels and the same amount of XP. Okay, yeah, that's great. But is that XP, I'm assuming when he says the same amount of required XP, he's talking about this battle pass versus the next battle pass. So does that mean that that amount of required XP is going to be equally distributed across 100 levels? Because then, yes, he got the point. But if you're still going to make level 1 100 XP, level 2 200 XP, level 3 300 XP, you missed the point. That's all I had to say about that.
Yes, I find it so weird that no one from the Hearthstone team has like commented anything directly about comments saying that ramp up is part of what feels bad about the system. Like none of them have addressed it. It feels like it's Harry Potter and that comment is Voldemort and they dare not speak its name. A little bit. At the same time, whatever the case is, because I don't know, part of me thinks the aversion to talking about that is because they are never going to change it. The ramp up is always going to be part of this, and I get that a lot of other Blizzard games, let alone other games, work like this. Maybe not battle passes. Some do, some don't. Whatever. But, you know, leveling up in World of Warcraft, for example, it takes more levels to go from 51 to 52 than it did from 50 to 51. Or it takes more XP.
But you also earn more XP. When you're completing quests and stuff at level 50, you get a different amount of XP than when you're completing quests at 51, which is why the ramp up in, say, WoW leveling doesn't feel as bad as this does. And I think if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that the main selling point of the battle pass is the XP boost, is the fact that you can move through the system faster if you pay. And they're not 100% sure if they should or if they could or, you know, whatever, like divorce those two concepts of like making it so that, you know, to get that better feeling, to get that smoother transition into those later levels. They don't know how to take that out of the battle pass and make it so the battle pass still has enough value that people are going to pay for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to draw from other places where that is the case. And I was going to bring it home with, it doesn't feel good in Hearthstone. But I do think this will feel better. It will alleviate some of the sense of dear God, I think I got one thing this week. Instead, you'll get two. If there's still a ramp up, but there's more levels, you're going to be hitting levels more regularly, which is part of what feels bad about this. But this post itself draws very direct attention to the fact it like calls out one of the things that feels really good is getting something every day. And what Ixar says here doesn't lead to that.
Well, and you and I think are interpreting what Ixar is saying kind of differently as well.
I am
because not. Oh, okay.
I am interpreting it exactly the same way as you are.
Okay, because from the way that you did, like, I'm thinking there's going to be 0 to 100 and then that's it. Like nothing past level 100.
I wasn't even getting into that, but that's interesting that you think that.
Okay. Well, just because like, just from your,
I'm
your
just talking about 1 to 50 right now.
Yeah.
If that becomes 1 to 100, you unlock more things along the way. It's less at a time, but there's more bite-sized pieces to unlock. So like from like 40 to 41, like say you did that in 1 week, maybe you'll do 40 to 41 to 42 in a week, but you still got the same reward. But instead of that feels bad of like, well, I'm going to get 300 gold next, but I'm not going to get it for a week and I want to go do an arena run. Well, cool. Well, they just broke that up into 150 and 150. So in the middle of the week, you can do that arena run instead of having to wait a whole week. That's what I'm commenting on, is in that way, this will alleviate the feels bad to a certain degree.
Right. And I guess the way that I read it and interpreted it was like right now we have 50 levels in the battle pass and then extra levels after that. And the way that I read it is the next reward thing will have 100 levels and that's it. But maybe I'm interpreting
there's
it
no way
incorrectly.
We would
burn
down the Reddit. We would burn down the Reddit if that was the case.
Because, and that's something that I've like, I don't really understand like why we talk about it in two different ways, like why there is an after, why it isn't better created, like why there's this 50 level reward track and then just like bonus stuff or something. Like I don't know, it's a very odd interpretation of a battle pass, I think. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just find it weird that there's like this reward system, but there's like two different sections of it.
It is weird.
Conversations.
It's front loaded and back loaded, like simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like your first week,
it's weird.
Your first week feels awesome. Oh, I'm getting so much stuff. And then it's a desert for months until you hit 50. And then it's like, oh, cool. Daily progression. Like what a lot of the players have been missing. It is strange, but it is also clearly by design. I think
I just think like his chat room right now is saying that I'm interpreting it weirdly, which is fine, but like
they're focusing just on no bonus levels past 100, which I agree. I think that was a weird read.
Well, and okay, so the reason, maybe I need to explain my logic and thinking a little bit more or something, but I find it odd that only part of our reward system is called the reward track. I guess that's where I get tripped up, is I'm like, well, are you talking about all the rewards we're going to get for an expansion, or are you talking about your little paid for pass? Like, because the track to me is the whole entire thing, is everything I can earn. And then the tavern pass is the restricted thing. They're screwing with their own language, and it's really confusing me.
Well, I don't know. It's Hearthstone, Jocelyn. You don't expect the card text on the card to actually tell you what the card does. You have to play it and figure it out. It's just on brand with the game.
I guess that is true. So, anyways, I can see what you're saying, that if we are essentially splitting each of the 50 levels that we have right now in the tavern pass portion of our rewards, if we're splitting that into 100, then yay. I read this as they're taking everything that we currently get, because even the bonus has a cap. Like if the bonus went on forever, then again, I would understand this a little bit easier, I guess, at first read, at first glance. And I totally forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, I thought they were saying like, here's our whole system and we're going to take all of the XP that you require to get through the whole system and we're going to smoosh all the XP and the rewards into 100 levels. Ta-da! But I think now, upon talking it through with you, I think I am in your camp that they're talking about splitting those 50 in half, which again, still doesn't solve the problem, still doesn't understand what it is that players like about the post 50 experience. And the post 50 experience is consistency. And you're not going to get consistency by just splitting things in half.
Yeah, I do think it's important to like recognize that that's your opinion. And I share that opinion. Like, some people may not mind the fact that it ramps up. I am not one of those people. So this helps, but it's far from what I was hoping the rewards track would become. So, yeah, I've kind of, I don't know. I keep going back and forth on it. It's not as bad as I thought. To where like they're like, I don't know. I had a week over the holiday where I was like, I just don't care. I'm like getting so little from it. I don't feel any desire to continue to push it. Which I don't think is good design. But again, it's me. This is my opinion. This is my feelings on it. Yours may differ, but yeah, whatever the case is, I do look at this and say, well, however this shakes out, it's an improvement, unless they get rid of bonus levels entirely. But I would think that would be a complete like horrendous move that it's not even on the table as a possibility. But that's my read on the situation. So, anyways, at least they're still thinking about it.
I mean, yeah, and I guess that is kind of another maybe conversation, because I've seen other posts from Ixar on Twitter this week that have basically been saying like, oh, we just thought, insert system name here was better rolled out than, iterated on internally and getting more polished. And it's definitely a swing in Hearthstone design mentality. I don't know if it's necessarily the best thing. I think you and I were both on the same page of like, try stuff, do stuff. But like the things they try and do, I would still like to be a little bit more polished. And this seems, especially as they are iterating so wildly on it and changing it in so many ways from the launch of it. Like, we're not even through the first reward track yet. Like, we're still in it. And it's been changed multiple times now. They're changing it again for the next implementation. I'm just losing a little bit of faith in them and their ability to understand what it is that we want out of our game.
Well, and like, I think it's
all over the place.
It's a cinderbox too, because of what it is. Like it is the economy of Hearthstone.
Yeah.
And so that being experimental just doesn't feel good. It's one thing, like we've kind of been in this kind of new way of thinking for the team, I think, since Battlegrounds, because they were like, it's in beta. It still is technically. But it's still insane because Battlegrounds feels like the most polished thing of all of the new things we got. And that was over a year ago now. Mm-hmm. Like Duels didn't feel polished and still doesn't, in my opinion. And the rewards track as well just felt half baked. But at the same time, like you don't see there's people, everyone has a different opinion. So I'm certain there are people with criticisms of Duels, for example, but it's not to the level of anything we saw for the rewards track. And again, that's because of what it is and what it represents within Hearthstone. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, where a lot of that is coming from, and why there's such a focus on the rewards track. So, I'm still chalking this up to a win, because I think this is going to be better than what we have now. And I honestly thought they were just kind of done. I thought they were like, here you go, take your gold here. And we added a few things to it, and we're just going to leave it at that. So I'm also glad that they're still thinking about it.
It's still committed to changing it until it kind of checks the boxes for most people. I mean, I think you're right that there's a lot of feelings and opinions about this rewards track, and that it's going to be really hard to get it right. And I don't think that you're ever going to please everybody. So I'm glad they're still making changes. I hope they hit on something that kind of makes most people feel like they're having a good time and having a reason to engage with the system. Because I think that can be kind of what's missing the most, is like when you get players like Garrett and I that are kind of just like, well, I don't really feel like I want to engage with this. I don't feel like I want to grind out. Like that next level feels so far away or feels like not rewarding enough for me to really push for, then like that's a problem. Like there's some sort of disconnect, and whether that's because we've talked about a lot of different things when it comes to this reward track. We've talked about rewarding styles of play and modes of play in more equally, so that if you are someone who doesn't play ranked standard, you're still progressing the reward track the same way as if you are a ranked standard player. I think there's a lot of things that can change and be tweaked and make it feel like people want to grind this out. But right now, what I'm hearing from the vast majority of players that I engage with is like, it didn't make me want to play Hearthstone anymore. Like, it's not pulling me into the game. I'm not seeing the system and being like, yeah, that's the thing I want. I need 3 more levels to get there, which is what every other battle pass makes me feel in every other game that has one. Is like, oh yeah, I just have to get to rank this and then I get that cool thing. And I think that there's probably a whole other conversation to be had around this about how they're not leveraging cosmetics as well as they probably could or should.
You're gonna draw me into something that I think will snowball, but I'm going to risk it anyway and try and keep this short. But it's funny you say that because this is the most cosmetics we've ever seen by like an avalanche size increase. I think at the end of it seems to me that there is a challenge with how many pieces of Hearthstone we can even customize, and I don't think I have an understanding of that challenge, and I wouldn't want to delude myself into thinking otherwise.
Well, that's the thing, right? We don't know the limitations of the client. We don't know like what they would be able to do that would be things that just we could see or what we and our opponents could see. Like there's probably a lot of stuff there. And the last thing we want to do is break the client. Like it seems to be very fragile. Yeah. And so the last thing we want to do is overload it with like frivolous stuff. And I totally get that. Sometimes even just animations on new cards break the client. So like, I understand that we are not necessarily dealing with something that is as moddable, for lack of a better term, as other games are. But I do think that like, yes, we have more options than ever before. You're 100% right. But I think that there's a lot of other things that they could and should do if it's possible within the confines of the client, because there's so many extra things that you could do that aren't hero portraits that they just haven't. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But I mean, yeah. And right now I'm not feeling the crazy drive to grind it for sure.
You can subscribe to The Angry Chicken on all your favorite podcast apps like Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss another Angry Chicken video.